Hey y'all, hey y'all, hey y'all. Hey everybody, hey everybody, hey everybody, hey everybody. Hey, it's your girl, Pastor Angela Johnson. Of course, this is One Sister to Another with a podcast. Come on, with information, inspiration, and godly revelation. And we're heard live on all of your social media outlets. Y'all, guess what? Again, and again, I am, of course, on location today. I am in San Juan, Puerto Rico, and I'm excited about what this show is going to entail today. All I can tell you is that every show is promised to be that of excellence. So this month, our show is going to be about finances. And so we're theming the show, Minding Your Own Business. How about that? Minding your own business. And so, of course, y'all know every first Saturday of the month, we have none other than our homie, come on here, Mr. Dr. Khalid Scott. Of course, we calling it Conversations with Khalid. He's on. And then, of course, we've got Elise, who is our finance guru for the day, who's going to talk to us about you better get your credit right if you're going to get your life right. Okay, get your life right. Okay, and then, of course, y'all, she doesn't mind that I call her name third because I'm about to pass this mic to her. Since I'm on location, I want to pay attention. I want to hear real well. I'm passing the mic to none other my co-host for the day, who is well, able, and capable. None other than Maite is in the room. Before I do that, can I thank the folk in the back? None other than my executive producer, Tamara, who's also on location, and Mr. Big J, and also Trailer Law, who is our engineer for the day. Hey, we're one sister to another. Take it, Miss Maite.
Thank you, Angela. Thank you. Good morning. Hey, Khalid, Conversations with Khalid. So good to see you. Hi, Elise. We're going to get started with Khalid this morning. So we want to talk about credit. Well, of course, minding your business, but as a clinician, we want you to tie in the mental health portion with credit and finances, right? So my question to you is, how do you, what does mental health have to do with credit?
Okay. These two go hand in hand. Your brain and this calculator, right?
Okay.
Because the reality is, if your finances are off, you are off. You know, have you ever noticed the difference between the day before payday and how you feel and the day of payday and how you really feel, right? The day before you get paid, you're starving, right? You can eat a whole Thanksgiving meal, right? Because you like, I'm craving food. I can't afford to go and get any, but I'm really hungry. Then on payday, you like, yeah, let me go to Harold's and get that 6-piece that I've been craving for that I couldn't afford yesterday because that was $18, right? So it's something about having money, accessibility to money, that does affect your mental, right? So when that's not in sync, you're going through a lot. And then in working with individuals and married couples, one of the major issues that they have, right, are finances, right? Because again, if your money ain't right, you ain't right. So do they go hand in hand? Absolutely. Should they? No. But this is the real world we live in, right? So and then we're learning from even our celebrities. You can have all the riches and gold and money, but does it really bring you joy if you're not happy inside? Absolutely not. So I think that's something we can delve into, how to make finances and mental health work in cohesion with one another.
That's awesome. So question, what are some of the things that you, or what are some of the tools you give your clients to help them to be able to balance the two?
Okay, great question. So I work with married couples, and I ask them, what are their three major issues? So what I typically hear is this: infidelity, communication, and money. right?
Okay.
So with the infidelity, either you're going to forgive or you're going to move on. We got that. So we just got to process that. Communication is how you talk to one another. It's how you listen to hear what the person has to say to you, not be ready for your what? Rebuttal. So got that. With finances, that's more paper and calculator, right? Paper and pen, right? Pencil and pen. So what I do is I print out or I email them budget sheets, right? So I'm like, for instance, I had a couple where the husband was like, man, I'm paying the majority of the bills while you get to play with your money, wife. That's not fair. So her thing is, wait a minute, you make quadruple more than I make. And you're always the one who starts off and finishes every conversation. My money, my money. I'm the provider. I'm the provider. So you're sending me mixed messages. Do you want me to be a partner in this with regarding our finances, or do you have it? So the husband had to work on to stop leading with his wallet, to stop being seen as the ATM machine, and to say, wait a minute, let's do this. Here's the budget sheets that Dr. Scott gave us. Here's the 12 bills that we have in our household. I'll pay these 9 bills and you pay the other 3 bills. So you'll pay the cable bill, the gas bill, and the water bill. But I need to know, as my wife, you are taking some of this load off of me, but in turn, I got to stop saying that I can handle the load. And it was that simple. But it took them 6 months to do the budget. Because why? They were still used to their patterns. So he was just keep complaining, but then he'll go and pay all the bills. Then I'm like, sir, Mr. Husband, why are you doing that? Let her pay the 3 bills you agreed upon. I know, man, but I like my bills being paid the first of the month, and she want to pay them on the 15th of the month.
Wow. And so that's a case where you're dealing with a couple who has the financial capacity to pay the bills. What happens when you have encountered like a couple who was drowning in debt? Like speak to us from that standpoint. Okay.
So yes, I've had those same couples too, where it's like both of them are making 6 figures, literally. And now, you know, in the real world, even though you make 6 figures on paper, after taxes and other expenses is less than that, right? But they still had a 6-figure budget, right?
Okay.
And so they were spending frivolously, right? So what happened was it started really impacting the husband, because he was like, why am I always broke and I work 2 jobs? And then he's looking at the wife is, man, you need to be helping me out more, right? And she's like, well, I'm paying for this, that, and this and that. So it was like, guys, what do you all think you need to do about this? Because 2 grown people, educated, working between the both of you 3 jobs, this should be a no-brainer. It's just that they were spending frivolously. They weren't conscious about their spending habits, right? So I had to give them the budget sheets and like, hey, decide what bills get paid by who. And then, do you all have an account together? No. Well, why not? You're a married couple. Well, you know, we're both divorced and I just learned my lesson. I ain't going to have an account with my wife. I ain't going to have an account with, I said that's the wrong answer. That starts with the process of being in a partnership. That money in that joint account is both your monies. Even if you're putting $1,000 in and she's putting $50 in, that's $1,050 that belongs to who? Both of you.
Okay, so that's still speaking about finances as it relates to credit, right? As it relates to credit. So how important do you think credit is, and do you feel that credit, or have you seen that credit have been a useful tool in a marriage to help save a marriage or to help them reach their goal? And is this, have you ever introduced the concept of credit, to help them reach a goal in order to save their marriage?
Yes. And let me use me as the example. So when I was married and we moved into this house 17 years ago, me and my wife at the time came up with a plan. The plan was, because I was the money maker per se, I was going to make sure my credit score was the highest possible, right? So I had to make sure that I was going to pay off any bills that I had to bring up my score. I end up having, after a year, a 836 credit score, right? So when we went to go and look for a house, of course, they was looking at my credit score while my wife was saving her money, right, in order for a higher put down on the house.
Okay. Now
we partnered together. Let me raise my credit score and let her do the savings. Because remember, I'm paying bills off, right? Mm-hmm. It all went down to partnering. Then when we moved into the house, then I was able to start helping her pay her bills off, right? Mm-hmm. And then it raised her credit score up. But the key to that was we had to devise a plan, stick with the plan, and implement the plan.
That's awesome, because credit, I mean, we are taught, as an accountant, first thing we're taught is that cash is king. And so hold on one second, Khalid. I just want to bounce it to Elise really quickly. Hi, Elise. How are you?
I am doing wonderful. Can you guys hear me? Dr. Scott, you talking real good. I like what you're talking about.
We can hear you.
Got me excited.
Yeah, we can hear you perfectly well. My question to you is cash still king?
You know what, Maite? We were raised in time. I'll be 38 this year. So I really didn't understand the cash is king thing until I got old enough to understand how important credit was. Okay. Right? Because with me growing up, I didn't have anybody to educate me on the power of credit. So guess what? When I did earn income and make money, I had cash on me. I didn't have my bank account set up properly. And it wasn't until I got into my 30s when I realized that the cash wasn't worth nothing. Because guess what? There's nobody around here dropping $250,000 or $300,000 on a home loan, right? Or going into a car dealership to pay cash for a car. So my answer to that is cash is not king. It might be queen in the sense for you to have money put up and saved and, for a rainy day, especially these last 3 years of what we went through. A lot of people did not have sufficient amount of cash put up. But right now, credit is power.
Right. Okay. Yeah. And then even like during the pandemic, with the lack of cash saved, a lot of people were able to, leverage their credit in order to, make it. And so, yeah, that's something that I saw and that I thought was really good. So you wrote an ebook, right, to tell people about credit, to help people with credit and everything. And one thing I want to say is, because, everybody's into this self-care thing now. What I am and what I suggest people do is, as a part of your self-care, let's add in pulling all 3 credit bureaus to see where you stand credit-wise. Can you talk about that? I know that's the very, very beginning, to pull your 3 credit bureaus, but can you just, tell us some other things that we can do to see where we stand credit-wise?
Yes, so that definitely credit finances is a part of self-care. As you guys heard Dr. Scott talking about, that's one of the biggest things, not just in marriage, but relationship, period, right? You want your friends, the people around you, to have, good credit. If you guys want to do something together, that's a big part of self-care for a person, getting yourself in order mentally, physically, and financially. So when looking at your credit, everybody knows me, anybody that I talk to, I check my credit every day. Although my credit is decent, I love it where it's at. I'm still building it. I check it every day. That's one of the main things I do. Once I get up, meditate, get my kids together, my credit is the next on my list. Let me make sure, because I don't want nothing to happen to it, right? So when you're trying to look at your credit and you're checking it, you definitely want to check all three bureaus. Learn how to read your credit book. My ebook actually talks to you about that, teaching you how to properly read your credit scores, your credit report, what's on there, what's affecting it. Why did this happen? Why did this drop? What happened to this? Why did it increase? Right? So when you mentioned self-care, you said that with the credit is really important. Learning how to pull your 3 credit bureaus. You get access to your credit report every single year, one time free. So I encourage people every year, make sure you check your credit report. Make sure you establish relationships with these 3 bureaus. They have apps, they have things that you can download and partner with to where you can just continuously look at your credit score.
Awesome. I know that at one point, I don't know if they're still doing it or not, but I know that TransUnion, I know they were offering like a free credit report every 7 days or every month or something like that during the pandemic, so that people, could stay on top of, their credit and monitoring the credit and everything. Khalid, I just thought about something which it's not funny, and I don't make light of this situation, but I remember seeing a video, a clip on social media of a man. Someone was recording him, and he was in a hall, and he was laying down on the floor. He was at the casino, and I think he had lost, I don't know if you guys saw, he lost everything, and he was like screaming, they got it all, they got everything, I lost everything. So apparently, he didn't have any stopping power, and my heart does go out to him. Hopefully he's bounced back since then. But like, what do you tell a person who might be drowning in debt, or who have gone to the casinos and used their credit cards for whatever? How can one bounce back from that? I mean, as a clinician, like, what are you going to tell them to help them cope with the moment? But what are some of the steps that you can help you can give them to bounce back from that?
Okay. So if a client comes in with that kind of issue, right, my first assessment is, are you addicted? What led you to the casino? Because we all know when you go into the casino, there's 2 people who go to the casinos, right? One person who's just there just to experience it, is entertainment. The other person, this is a habit. This is my go-to place. This is my therapy. So the person who just goes there for entertainment, they're going to play $5 worth of quarters and go on. That person who may be a gambler who's addicted, then this is their life. It does something. It feeds them. It's an adrenaline rush. So we have to address that part first. And then you go into why would you put your finances, your family, your life in financial jeopardy, right? And and I've had clients who are addicted to gambling, right? And it was like your high is high and your low is low. Just like when you're on alcohol, or just like when you're on cocaine or heroin, you're craving the fix you get from it, right? And you don't care in that moment, and then also what happens is it's a mistress to that person, right? A mistress does what? Makes you feel good, makes you forget about your regular life, right? Or a sad dude makes you forget about the regular life, right? So what happens is, I went to the gambling boat last week and I won $15,000. Oh my God, I got the winning formula. I'm going back this week. I'm gonna win another 20,000. But then you go this time and you lose everything. And you like, wait a minute. No, I didn't. Let me get some more money and let me go ahead and try to win that 15 grand again. So you got to get this fixed, right? And then with any addiction, you can't be around your addiction anymore when you're trying to do better. People, places, and things. You have to be mindful. So that's, as a clinician coming to it from a clinical point, I got to fix what's broken in here, because the addiction is going to always be there, right? Just like with me losing, I just lost 100 pounds. I had to get this mind ready first for the diet and exercise program, and then the weight fell off once this was in order.
And can I jump in? I absolutely love what he said. It's funny that you did mention casinos and stuff. I come from a background of people who love to gamble. I'm not one of them. I always tell people I'm so glad that bug did not bite me, because but the thing is, what I've realized, a lot of people who have that, because it is an addiction, and it's something that's self-soothing to some people. A lot of people like food. Some people like shopping. Some people like gambling. We've encountered people, me and my husband, we work together with doing credit, helping people with finances and things like that. And not just being addicted to the casino. I had an addiction with shopping. I love shoes. If y'all can see my closet right now, I had it, right? But one of the biggest things that I've realized is a lot of people who gamble, they are risk takers. Sometimes they don't even understand that they can take the money they have and learn how to invest it and put it into other places, right? Instead of to gamble it. So there's a lot of things that I've learned with finances, and like he said, with mental health, you got the right tools. You have the willpower or the mindset to take this money. They investing in the wrong place. That's what it is.
Right.
They're investing in the wrong places. So people like that, when they can have a resource or a vehicle to say, okay, you got X amount of money, instead of going and giving it to the casino, because guess what? They ain't gonna do nothing but take it and eat it up. Right? Let's invest it here and compound on your money or build your money. And that can actually help to change that unhealthy habit into a healthy habit, because most of the people that gamble, they're risk takers. I like dealing with people like that because they don't mind spending money.
That's good. True. And so one thing about credit that I know is that credit can be, I'll say, quote unquote, manipulated, right? So when we think of credit and we think of credit, we think of, the three bureaus, TransUnion, Equifax, Experian, pulling all three credit bureaus. There are two things, the statement date and the closing date, that maybe people need to know about. Elise, do you want to talk about those two and tell people the differences between those two, where it could possibly help them to raise their score in order to be able to get into a better place, so that they can get to that place that Khalid was talking about, the satisfaction. So the same satisfaction that they're getting from gambling, they can get it from fixing their credit, when you can walk in and be able to buy anything you want, right? So we want to help people to get to that place. So Can you help to give some tools and talk about the difference between the statement date and the closing date in an effort to help to do some score building?
Yes. So your statement date and closing date, and this is as simple as I teach my clients: pay your bill, or at least pay down to at least 30% or below before that statement date. The closing date is pushing it, right? Because the closing date, what happens once that statement closes out for the month, now it's going to be reported to your bureau. Okay, between the first, 25 to 28 days. That's what I tell them. Between these 28 days, did this person utilize their credit card? Did they pay it back down? Did they, or is it left with a balance to carry over throughout the month? So one of the biggest things that I teach people is that once and I teach my clients this way. I have certain credit cards for certain things. And one helps me to figure out, okay, I only use one for gas, I use one for groceries, and there's one for recreation. So the recreation credit card I use, if I take just not like now, I'm getting ready to take my daughter out, that's going to be recreational credit card because it's her birthday, right? Okay. So I know what I've spent. But let's say, for instance, if I use my gas credit card, I know exactly what I've spent on there. Before that statement ending date, I'm going to pay that card down. If I cannot pay the full balance, I'm going to pay at least the minimum or a little bit more before that closing date goes out, right? That way, once it's reported to your credit, the bureaus will say, okay, they utilize it, which a lot of people don't understand. You don't get credit cards not to use them. You got to use them because that's how you build your history. So they're going to look at the fact, okay, they used their credit card. They did make an attempt to make the payment. At least they made the minimum payment. If you pay it over it, that's perfect. But you want to make sure that you pay at least the minimum payment before that closing date, before that statement date closes out. The other thing that people need to do is get to know their credit mix. What's on your credit? What impacts your credit the most? What I see when I encounter a lot of people is that their payment history is horrible. And that's the biggest chunk of your credit report. It's 35%. So if you look at it and you have everything else on your credit report, reporting the amount that you owe, the length of history, if your payment history is out of whack or if it's not good, that's 35% of your score being affected. And a lot of people don't understand that because they may use it. They'll carry over balances month after month after month and wondering why their credit score keeps falling. So you want to look at that too. Look at it. Pay attention to that. Pay attention to your credit history. Pay attention to the 30%, which is the amount owed on your credit. Some people get credit cards or have lines of credit and they don't understand. Yeah, they gave you $5,000. They don't want you to spend the entire $5,000.
Right. So stay under the 30%.
Stay under the 30%. If you got to go over the 30%, try to get it back down to under that 30% before that closing date is out.
Right. Because that's what the credit bureau is going to see.
Yeah.
Which is awesome. And what I recently learned is there are different types of credit scores. So there is a home buying score, there is a car buying score, and there's a score for credit cards.
Yes.
And that if you look into, Tamara brought this to my attention, but I also took a credit course on last week, and this is something that they talked about as well. But in pulling your credit report, look into those three things as well. But like you said, payment history is very important. So what I started to do recently is I'm starting to put my bills on auto pay, my credit card bills on auto pay. And I did it for them to pay the minimum, right? Mm-hmm. So this is what I did. I did it so that they can pay the minimum. So at least if anything comes up and I don't have a surplus to cover it, right? If someone doesn't have a surplus, because that's something that Khalid talked about, his clients, they're six-figure earners. It might be someone who doesn't quite earn six figures, but at least you're paying the minimum payment. And then what you can go back and do is to, pay some extra if you would like. Your ebook also, Elise, talked about derogatory items on the credit. So when they pull the credit, and I'll get back to you shortly, Khalid, I got a question for you too. When they pull their credit bureau and they see derogatory items on their credit report, what's their first course of action? Like, what do you suggest that they should do?
Their first course of action would be to assess, and then that comes in learning how to read a credit report. But the first thing would be to assess all the negative items. If you see something derogatory on your credit, it doesn't matter if you're responsible for it or not. So how we educate our clients, and a lot of consumers don't know this. I was one that did not know that the Fair Credit Reporting Act gives you the right by law to investigate anything on your report. Doesn't matter if you're responsible for it or not. Doesn't matter if you accumulated the debt, right? Because what people don't understand is that human error happens all the time. Our credit reports are not updated, or the bureaus are not updated by computer. They're updated by humans. So guess what? You may owe the debt. It may be derogatory. You may know that you didn't pay it down, but they may have put it on your credit report at a time when it was not supposed to be listed, which makes it inaccurate, which makes it automatically, you're able to dispute that to have it deleted. For instance, I had a client, he's actually a partner with us now. He had student loan debt, went to school, he accumulated the debt, but when they input the debt on his credit, it input it as Cottrell Goss. His name is Latrell Goss. So minor inaccuracies like that, he was able to get over $40,000 in student loan default remarks removed off of his credit because it was put in under the wrong name.
Which in terms increases his score, which is awesome. So now I know you and your husband, you guys do business together, right? And I know that this is something that you guys have shared publicly, when you guys were coming into, learning about credit and everything. So you got two people, coming together, working for one common goal. and Khalid deals a lot with couples though, but what are some of the challenges that you guys had to overcome as a couple, with building your credit and to not allow it to tear down your marriage, like some of the clients that Khalid have seen?
You know what? One of the biggest things was understanding that as you get older, we evolved, we changed. When we got married at 23, it'll be 15 years this year that we've been married, me and my husband. And we had to understand in growing that our mindsets were changing. At the time when my husband started really thinking about our finances, I wasn't there. I wasn't there because I was still, going with the flow of, go to school, get a job. I was working a dead end job that was not helping me and wasn't even really paying attention to the overall part of finances. So when he started, really paying attention to our credit, finances, where we were, I had to kind of fall in line with that because eventually we would need these things to grow. At the time, we only had one kid. We were living in Chicago, 900 square foot apartment, right? And we barely got in there because of our credit, right? So when we started to, when my husband started to kind of pay attention to the patterns, and again, Khalil touched on that mentally, he started to talk about how what we were doing was not working. So if we keep repeating and continuing this, guess what? We're going to be in the same position next year. So I had to fall in line. I had to fall in line, and I had to realize one of the things that was really important to me is that I allowed him to marry me, which means that I allowed him to lead me. So when I fell in line and I just said, okay, we're going to go ahead and get this together. We're going to get our credit together. It was the best thing that could have possibly happened because once we got that in order and we started paying attention to it, our finances started to increase more, right? We were able to transition ourselves from a 900 square foot apartment to getting our first property here in Georgia. So it takes, understanding each other's strengths and weaknesses. I was not really good with money at the time. I was a spender. My husband, I call him Jason Pitts. I don't know if y'all know who that is, but on the game, he was one of the richest football players in the world on that TV show, but he was one of the most financial savviest ones too. So my husband is kind of like that. He's a want and need type of guy. And the biggest thing about it, he's a big risk taker. Right. He's a big risk taker, but you got to have finances and you got to have the knowledge and the mindset to be a risk taker to make sure that, your family doesn't go under in the process of you doing that.
Right.
Awesome.
And
so go ahead. Go ahead, Khalid.
Well, let me add this because you just said it so eloquently, Elise, is that you got to know your lane.
Yeah.
That's one of the things I also talk to my couples. What's your lane? Mm-hmm. If the husband, you're the breadwinner, the one who can bring the checks in, and then your wife is the one who's the best budgeter and the in-home CPA, right? Stay in your lanes.
Yeah.
Now, what I do suggest is cross-train.
Mm-hmm.
That's
good. Right? So, because if something happens, the husband needs to know what money is coming that you write a check with and what money is automatically coming out the account. Mm-hmm. He needs to know that, right? On the other end, he gets sick, he gets disabled. The wife might need to be the breadwinner, right? Mm-hmm. And so again, it goes back to the fundamentals of partnering up.
Yeah.
For the bigger cause, for the bigger goals. Because if you got one person being consistent and you got one person being inconsistent, it's not going to go well, right? You both got to be on the same page. And money, again, matters, especially with us people of color, because we're not familiar with money, having money.
Absolutely.
You still got people who got elderly parents and they don't have a life insurance plan on them. Wait a minute, your mom might pass tomorrow. Well, we all just gonna put 5 on it. Are you kidding me? That's your plan, right? We got to do better. But remember, we're really first, maybe second generation of making really good money.
Yes.
And making good decisions with our money, right? I know more CPAs than ever. Compared to, did my mother know any CPAs? Black CPAs? Probably not. And then we got to be mindful of predatory, places like those places on 75th and Stony Island that says, come on in. we'll give you $10,000 and you sign this
You got mail.
with a 24% interest rate. But
And
because
if people pay attention to it, where are most of those places at?
absolutely.
Yeah.
So see, there's no excuse. We have this device right here that we can look things up. And it's funny you brought up about the credit reports. I go to Credit Karma every day to make sure that score go up for me, and that's my best friend.
I know that's right.
All right.
Black man with almost 800. That's a good thing.
Yes.
That's awesome. That is awesome. And so, Khalid, what are some of the success stories that you've heard from your clients as a result of giving them the tools and helping them to, reach their goals? And, did some of them come back and say, hey, we have leveraged our credit and we, were able to do this and we were able to do that? One of the things that, one of the benefits to credits and credit cards to me is that you can earn points. You can earn points. Exactly. You can earn points for flight. You can earn hotel points. I mean, you can cash back rewards and everything, right? So I have even heard of people who have recently stopped using their debit cards and they are using credit cards. Now, I said using, not abusing, not misusing. Using, because I don't want people to go and get in debt and say, hey, I heard this on the One Sister to Another podcast. That's not what we're pushing. We're pushing healthy credit, right? And then we're also pushing the benefits of leveraging your credit, right? We want you to get the house. We want you to get the car. We want you to, if you can, use your credit points, right, to go on vacation. Angela's stuck in San Juan. Tamara and Jay's in Europe. That's great. Wouldn't it be nice if you could, save your money and let credit, right, or the use of credit or the rewards of using credit and having credit to pay for that? Elise, you want to jump in on that? And
I absolutely do. I'm living in the benefit of my points right now. Before COVID and everything, my husband and I traveled to different cities and states. We would do credit seminars and things like that, and we have partners in different states. And we would utilize our credit cards to build those points and things like that. So since we've slowed down training, especially with me having the little ones now, we're getting back into traveling. And these last few times that we've had to stay at hotels or, travel, we've been able to use points that we've accumulated. So I always tell people when you're looking for a credit, if you're trying to get a credit card or you absolutely need one, a lot of people run away from them because they don't have the knowledge on how to use them and make them work for them. But when you do look for credit cards, look for those that have the benefit to give back to you. Because at the end of the day, you're shopping with them. You're a customer. If I'm utilizing you, if I'm rocking Discover or I'm rocking Capital One, I want Capital One to give me something because in a sense, I'm representing you every time I swipe that card. So if I don't get something out of it, I don't necessarily want to use that credit card. So I absolutely love credit cards with points because you get something back. My husband, he loves his Discover is stuck to Amazon. And literally, whenever he shops, if he has to go on Amazon, he just uses all the points that he's accumulated from utilizing his credit card, which is a good thing because now I have points. I don't have to spend my money. I don't have to use my credit card. My debit card is taking a breather too. But yeah, if you're utilizing credit cards, look for credit cards that give you something back.
That is awesome. That's awesome. Anything you want to add? Oh, here's a question for Elise. How long did it take for you and your husband to fix your credit?
So, we get this question all the time, and we've helped probably over 4,000 or 5,000 people. And everybody's situation is different. When me and my husband first started, we actually started out getting our own credit repaired, and we had some of the same things on our credit. But my husband's credit report within 45, I think it was about 48 days, he was able to get majority of everything off besides like 2 things. Me, on the other hand, it took almost 8 months. I had an eviction. I had a repossession. I had a judgment on my credit. I had default student loans. I had a lot of things on my credit. I also had 14 Comcast cable accounts on my credit, y'all. So for those who may not be monitoring it, I was a victim of identity theft. I did not even know it. So somebody on the south side of Chicago, because I ended up getting all the addresses. Somebody in the south side of Chicago was utilizing my social, different names, but utilizing my social, hooking their family up with cable. And I did not find this out until I finally got cable, and they hooked me up. The next day, my cable was off because they told me I had an outstanding bill.
Whoa.
So when we started, it took them about, I want to say 8.5 months for almost everything to come off. At that 9-month mark, when that eviction came off of my credit, I if I could shout right now, I probably would shout right now, right? But it made me understand the importance of how not to jack my credit up. And like I said before earlier, a lot of these things we actually accumulate on our credit. And, we get this debt on our name and on ourselves. And a lot of people look at the fact of, well, how long is it going to take? I was not impatient because I was not impatient when I was putting the debt on my credit, right? So I always tell people, don't be impatient, right? It takes time to get you to a 400 or whatever credit score. It's going to take time to get you to that 800 that you're looking for. So everybody's situation is different.
That's good. My son, he's a senior in college, and college students, they love to give college students credit, right?
That was my first piece of debt right there, $3,500 credit card from Capital One. I never forget it.
No, he couldn't get a credit card, right?
Okay.
And so we all know that, when you're in college, they love to give college students credit cards. He couldn't get a credit card. And I said, wait a minute, something's not right. I said, they love to give college students credit. He says no. So then he came home for Thanksgiving break. We went to Target on Thanksgiving. I'll never forget. And I said, you know what? Do the application now. I'm standing here. I'm going to watch you to make sure you're doing everything correctly. Let's see. He did everything I told him. They denied it. I said, you know what? I'll pull your credit first thing in the morning. Pulled his credit. My son was a victim of identity theft. He was only, 18 at the time. But I think 6 or 7 years prior to that, someone had gotten an apartment in his name. Wow. Someone had gotten a bill with AT&T in his name. And someone had gotten some kind of, I think in Illinois, it would be equivalent to like a payday loan. Mm-hmm. But because it was done in another state, I think they called it speedy cash or something similar to that. Mm-hmm. And so, knowing what I know about credit and credit repair, the first thing I thought of, okay, well, yeah, it's bad that they did this, right? So first thing we thought to go and get a police report. Mm-hmm. That didn't work because my son was a resident of Illinois. He was going to school in Kansas City. All of the transactions, the identity theft portion happened in Texas. So each police department kept pushing us around. So then I was thinking, hey, let's just write a letter, right? Send all of your information in to show that it's not you, and clearly it'll come off. We have been having a hard time getting that off. What do you say we can do? Or what would you suggest someone in this situation do, Elise?
So the first thing, and like you said, getting the police reports, I wouldn't allow them to push me around with that because, again, he has proof that he was underage when these things were put on his credit report. So that means that there's no possible way that he could have filled out an application for anything without showing ID, for one, which will actually show that it's fraudulent. I actually had a car in my name that I never drove the car, never seen the car a day in my life, but it was in my name and it was a repossession on my credit. So that would be the first thing that I would say. He would definitely need the police reports because what the bureaus are going to ask for is proof that that's showing that he's not liable for the debt. Birth certificate is going to be one because they'll see the date and the time that these were open and the age that he was at the time that they were open, which shows that he legally could not even apply for certain things under the age of 18. So I would do that. And then the verbiage on your letters really, really matters as well. You have to have that Fair Credit Reporting Act, that verbiage and the language on the letters when you're disputing these items matter. So certain letters that you need to send to the bureaus have to have certain laws listed to them to let them know, hey, I know my rights as a consumer. I know that this is not my debt. I know that it's your right to look into the debt that I'm telling you is not mine and give me proof that it's not mine. Show me the bill of sale. Show me the date that the account was open. Show me my wet signature on a paper that showed that I'm the one that took out this loan or, got this apartment in my. They have to provide all of those things. Okay. And if they cannot provide all of those things, that's an automatic delete off of your credit report.
Okay. DK Preston here says, I've been advised to use credit unions. What are the benefits of credit unions as opposed to major credit card companies with rewards?
Man, DK, the benefits of credit unions is that you build a relationship with them. I absolutely love the two credit unions that we're a part of, but credit unions have a lot of other benefits that credit cards may not have, or credit card companies may not have. One being that you can establish a relationship to where they may be the people you can go through for your mortgage loan. You can actually go to your credit union versus you going from car dealership to dealership. If you've established a relationship with them, they can actually assess your credit score, and based off of the model that they go off of, they can give you a check to go get a car instead of you going from dealership to dealership. Same thing with a mortgage loan officer or a mortgage office. So if you're establishing a relationship with the credit union, I absolutely love it because, again, they're a one-stop shop when it comes to things. I'd rather do business with my credit union than been doing business with 10 other companies when it comes to me making big purchases.
Okay, that's good. Thank you. Khalid, you showed us your credit score. Good job. How did you get there?
It's just a build up, and just like at least is it Alice? Eilis. What she said is you got to be patient in the process. So for me, I'm real simplistic, right? So for me, I have my debit/credit card from Citibank, and that's all I use. Now I also have, in case of emergencies, my Firestone card, because I got 2 vehicles. So if they break down, and anything with your car is going to be a big bill, right? So I got that, right? And that's it for me. My thing was I want to pay off all debt. So the only debt I have at age 53 is my house. My cars are paid off. I was in the Army, so they paid for my education, so I didn't ever have to get a student loan, right? Because one of the things I believe, you got to forecast your life. You got to know what you want your life to look like. And for me, because I'm simplistic, right? And I know what it means to have money and not to have money, right? And I've been working 2 jobs for 24 years. Mail. So because I've been working 2 jobs for 24 years, I know the value of my time and energy and my money. And I like my money to be with me, right? Then I know my goals. My daughter's about to graduate from college, get ready for medical school. So I want to be able to be there for her, whatever she needs. I need my money together. So you got to kind of like plan out longevity, long-term goals when dealing with money. And that's also what I discuss with both individuals and couples. Make money and finances your friend, not your enemy. You treat it wrong, it's your enemy. You treat your money right, it's your best friend.
Yes. And I think that's a conversation that should be had, especially with our community of people, because money was very taboo. Credit, very taboo. I'm the baby of 6. So for me to be the one establishing relationships as far as us having those conversations, I had to realize that I was taught wrong about money growing up the whole time. And being taught wrong about money essentially made me not even think about, really how important credit was until now. And like he said, long-term thinking is something that needs to be established. My daughter's getting ready to go to college. And when we started in this industry and when we really started paying attention to our finances and our credit, she was one of the reasons why I really took it serious. So now she's graduating, getting ready to graduate college. I've helped her, establish credit these last 5.5 years. At 18, she's in the 700s already. She'll be 18 Wednesday. Graduating, getting ready to go to school. She does not have to take out any loans because we thought long-term financially to where, if she wanted to go to school, if she made the decision, because I told her, don't waste my money if you're not going to go to school. But we wanted to make sure long-term that we had that thinking. So I believe that that's a big conversation that has to be had. And there has to be no shame or fear when discussing it. We were led wrong. We didn't get the education. My mama, from all that I knew, my mom had good credit, but she didn't like using credit cards. And she paid cash for a lot of stuff. And I didn't grow up, I didn't grow up understanding credit like that. So I think that long-term thinking is something that's very important, not just for now, but long-term. I have clients that have been with me, I want to say the last 6 or 7 years. One of my clients, especially when the pandemic hit, she made really good money, but she was focused on getting her credit repaired. She had got her credit together where she had access to high limit credit cards. That was one of her goals. But when the pandemic hit, her job shut down, company shut down, unknowing to her it was going to happen. But because she had established her credit long term, she was actually able to pay her bills off of those credit cards for almost a year until she got herself back established financially. And then she got her credit back in order. And now she's back in a position where she needed to be. So I think that discussion long term has to happen in order for you to, be set up for the future. It takes time. I'm pretty sure Khalid can tell you that 700 takes time, man. It takes time and patience.
Yeah, we had a question from someone. Okay, right here. She says, I have a credit union. How do I go about building relationships? I've had my account for almost 2 years, but I still have a dark credit history.
Christina, you definitely want to look at your credit bureaus to see why your credit history is quote unquote dark. First, the first thing that you want to do, again, like we said, assess all 3 of your bureaus to see what's negatively impacting your score, along with your profile. How's your profile set up? Do you have 20 different names and all your old address is still listed on your credit? Your place of employment. You want to get all of that set up and fixed. Anything that's negatively impacting your score, you want to get those things removed. Then you want to go to your credit union. First thing that I tell people to do is see if they have credit cards. What type of credit cards do they offer? Apply for one of those. They'll see that you've been with them for 2 years. So that kind of gives you a little leverage when you're applying for credit cards to a credit union. And you want to first.
I'm sorry, I'll add. And you know what? You may have to get a secured card, right? Yeah. And it's okay to start with a secured card to build your credit up. What happens is, can you change any of that on your own? Of course you can. Mm-hmm. Again, you can do what Elise said. You can go to your credit bureau, your credit union, and have a conversation with them. You may have to get a secured card, starting out with what's the best credit card brand to use. I don't know if we can tell you what the best credit card brand to use, but I know a lot of people, and I'm sure your credit union has several credit cards that you can do. A secured card will help. You can try Capital One for a credit card, but yeah, getting a secured card will help. They'll reevaluate you. I think like within 6 months to see if they can convert you over to a regular card. But you know what? We're running out of time. So do this, Christina. You can reach Elise at her website. Elise, what is it? EliseJackson.com, ILICE Jackson.com, and she'll be more than happy to walk you through it. And maybe you guys can partner on some things. She can give you some tools and everything. I see Angela here. She's going to close out our show. But Angela, if I may, can I please just ask Khalid one question? Khalid, 1 minute. Take 1 minute to answer this question, please. What are your thoughts on credit as it relates to dating? Would you date someone who doesn't?
I wish my daughter was on here. I'm interested in hearing this one.
Yes. And what advice would you give to your daughter as far as dating someone who will lead her, who has less than perfect credit?
Absolutely. Fantastic question. Look, I want my daughter to marry Michael B. Jordan.
Go ahead.
She's like, Daddy, I'm 20 and he's 35. So, because the thing is, as her dad, I want her to have backup plans. Plan A, plan B. My daughter wants to be a neurosurgeon, right? So she's going to make $500K starting off. But you get sick, I want Michael B. Jordan's money to take care of you, right? Okay. But she's learned from me and her mom and our education that to value money. So, and we started early on, right? We started early on, and we are a traveling family. So we know that if you own your money, take care of your money, and treat your money good, that's better outcomes. So when it comes to dating, this is when you're getting to know that person and you're listening to their history. So do I want to date somebody who has to always go to bankruptcy to handle their bills, right? No. Because again, and I've been saying this across the forum, balance, partnership. Us bringing stuff to the table together can only make it better.
That's good. Go ahead, Angela, take us away.
No, I'm going to let you take us away because my connection is kind of bad, but I love you all. This has been an excellent show. I want to do it again. You all have put meat on all of our brains. I know we connected the right folks today. Go ahead, Mai Tai.
Thank you so much. So Khalid, thank you again for being a part of the show, Conversations with Khalid. You're on with us every first Saturday of the month, and we appreciate you. Talk to the people. How can they reach you?
Okay. Yes, I'm on all social media platforms, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram, Khalid Scott, Khalid. You can find me on www.psychologytoday.com, and my number is 312-43-SCOTT. 312-43-SCOTT.
That's pretty simple. Okay, thank you. Elise, great having you. This is my girl. Thank you so much for agreeing to do it. EliseJackson.com. Tell the people. I mean, I know we can reach you on your website. I mean, you have an ebook. Talk about your ebook. What we didn't get a chance to talk about is business credit, which I know you guys do that so they can reach out to you if they need business. Well, you go ahead. You tell them.
Yes, so you guys can reach out to me. There's a message box on my website, EliseJackson.com. I am on Facebook and Instagram right now. I'm learning to work at LinkedIn through my teenager. She's teaching me. Never thought I'd be there, but I'm there. Also, my ebooks and everything are listed, as well as knowledge or information on business credit. We do phone calls. We walk you through anywhere from setting up your LLC to establishing your DUNS number. Whatever you need to get your business started, our company offers that. So I'm excited. This was really, really, really necessary today.
That's great. I think we had a great conversation. Yes. And like Angela said, this was really a good mix. And I think people will walk away from this being informed. And that's what we want to do. We want to be able to help people in our community. And shameless plug, I'd like to just put myself out there. Yes, of course, we want you to build your credit. And you know what? If home buying is a goal of yours, after you speak with Elise, right? If you're having some mental health challenges as it relates to your credit, you talk to Dr. Khalid. Once you get yourself together, go ahead and text Maite, MIEATA, to 85377. You'll get my business card. I am a licensed Illinois realtor with Exit Realty Solutions. I will be more than happy to help you with your home buying needs. If you want to sell, even if you're looking to rent, right? Whatever your situation may be. And I just like to thank everybody for tuning in. I just want to leave with this. This is something that I saw on social media. I love social media. Of course, I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. What am I on? I'm on Twitter, TikTok, LinkedIn. You can find me. I'm there. But I saw something and I thought this was pretty funny, which is seriously though, and it speaks to the balance in relationships. There was a meme that went on and said, make sure you date someone that has good credit. It's called significant other, which means sign if I can't. And I just like to leave on that note. I thought it was funny. But thank you guys for tuning in. One Sister to Another Podcast. Shout out to our host, Pastor Angela Johnson, Tamara, our executive producer, Big J. Shout out to Yvonne Trailer. Is One Sister to Another Podcast. It's been great. Tune in next week, 1 p.m. We're here every week One Sister to Another Podcast, the show that gives you inspiration, information, and godly revelation. Enjoy your weekend, everybody. It's been great.